Welcome back to my channel, Brighter Financial Future, aka BFF. In today's video, I'm going to discuss creating a well-rounded portfolio. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner investor, you want to diversify your portfolio, this video is for you. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned. And just a disclaimer, this video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and this video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. Any investment may involve risks, so it's important that you do your due diligence. So let's jump into today's video. If you're a new investor, you're not quite sure how to get into the market, this video is going to be great for you because I'm going to teach you how to create a well-rounded portfolio. It's easier than picking any individual stock. Now, if you're already invested in stocks, picking individual stocks, this is another great way to kind of diversify your portfolio. So I'm going to talk about 2 index funds that will help create diversification in your own individual portfolios. Now, I want to start with a quote. A low-cost index fund is the most sensible equity investment for the great majority of investors. Guess who said that? Warren Buffett. By periodically investing in an index fund, the know-nothing investor can actually outperform most investment professionals. It's really hard to argue with that. If you're not quite sure what stocks to pick, getting into an index fund is a great way to kind of start because you're going to have a little bit of diversification in everything. In these 2 index funds I'm going to discuss, it's basically going to give you everything that you need to own in 2 index funds from Fidelity. Now, the first fund on my list is Fidelity Xero Total Market Index Fund, ticker FZROX. Now, FZROX seeks to provide returns mirroring the total U.S. stock market. So basically, this fund is giving you a broad range of different U.S. stocks in that market. Now, this fund also has no minimum investment to start and no management fees. So that's very important. One of the things when it comes to index funds is you want to get index funds with low fees or no fees. In this case, you're getting that. In addition, depending on how much money you have, some index funds or mutual funds, you need a minimum to invest. With this particular index fund with Fidelity, it's part of their no fees index funds. This particular one doesn't have a minimum to buy into as well. You can put in as much as $25 a month or more depending on your budget. So that's a great thing about this index fund. Now let's look at some of their top holdings. Their top 10 holdings account for 21.66% of their overall portfolio. Now, with this particular index fund, you're going to get big companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google, A-class, NC-class, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan Chase, and Johnson & Johnson. Now, these top 10 account for 21.66% of the entire portfolio. So if you wanted to get these individual stocks, you can, but this index fund have these companies already. In addition, you'll have over 2,000 companies within this portfolio. So you're getting a wide net of stocks. That way, say for example, if Apple goes down, you still have Microsoft. Or Microsoft goes down, you have Amazon. And you also have companies like Johnson & Johnson. So you have a nice little mix getting into this index fund. Now, in addition to having over 2,000 companies you're going to be invested in with this particular index fund, also going to have a diversification in different sectors. So for example, information technology, healthcare, consumer discretionary, financials, communication services, industrials, real estate, and so forth. And this is important because sometimes what happens with stocks or even cryptocurrencies is what's called a rotation. So sometimes, like in recent times, technology is hot, and then people sell out of technology and go into, say, consumer discretionary. So when you're diversified, you're not going to get hit as much if you just own one particular stock or one particular sector. So that's the great thing about having diversification. You don't feel the pain as much as just having that one stock. It's like trying to just pick the right company out of a hat. But if you do your research, sometimes you can. But if you don't want to do any research, you just want to just kind of invest in something on a monthly basis, this is a great option for that. Now, this particular index is focused primarily in the United States. And as you can see, it's barely a 0.01% outside of that when it comes to diversification. This is typically U.S. stocks. Now, they do offer a dividend, and they typically offer it yearly in December. So owning shares in this company, they do pay a distribution and dividends yearly, which you can invest back into this index fund if you like. Now let's look at their 1 year performance. Year to date, they're up 9.64%. Their 1 year mark is 50.64%, and the life of the fund is 17.64%. So that's really good. It's over 10% life of the fund. Now keep in mind, this is a brand new fund which was established in 2018. So this is a new fund. So a lot of the history is pretty new. So that's the reason why you see those numbers. Let's compare it to some of the comparable index funds. So if you look at the FUS total market and a large blend, they're relatively close as far as if you look at the 1 year and life of the funds, they're very similar. So just for a comparison, so you look at it, it's doing okay compared to the other funds. And this one I personally have as well. I have it in my Roth IRA. And in my Roth IRA, when I retire, I don't want to, I do some individual picks, but this is a fund I like to just put in monthly contributions, like $25 to $50 a month. And not even thinking about it. I just kind of put it on automatic repeat every month, and it's going to do what it's going to do. Because, I'm not trying to look every day at the market, which I kind of do. But if you don't want to look at the market every day, you just set up your automatic fund. So when the market's doing great, you're doing great. If it drops a little bit, you'll drop a little bit. You're basically following that roller coaster, and you won't have as much as a bumpy ride or something just drastically hits to one individual sector or company. So that's one of the reasons why I like this particular fund so much. Now, the next fund on my list is Fidelity Xero International Index Fund, ticker FZILX. Now, Fidelity Xero International Index Fund seeks to replicate the returns of both developed and developing international stocks. So essentially, if you own this particular index fund and you couple it with Fidelity Xero Total Market Index Fund, you're basically getting companies from all around the world. You're going to be hugely diversified. So if anything happens, say for example in the US market, you're still covered internationally as well. So this really depends on how heavy you want to go on any in particular fund. So it gives you that diversification. And as you can see, there's no expense ratio. There's no minimum to actually invest in this particular fund. And this is also a brand new fund that was created in 2018. Now, when it comes to this particular index fund, their top 10 holdings account for 10.61% of their total portfolio. So you're going to get companies like Tencent, Alibaba, Taiwan Semiconductor, Samsung, Nestle, and much, much more, like Toyota, just to name a few. Now, the great thing is when you're diversified in this particular index fund, companies like Alibaba, when they're taking a hit, you still have Samsung and Toyota to kind of make sure you're not taking such a huge blunt if anything goes down. In addition, this one has over 2,000 stocks as well. So when you combine both index funds, you're going to have over 4,000 companies you're going to be a shareholder of if you do decide to kind of go with this particular formula. Now, when you look at their major markets, they focus on financials first, consumer discretions, industrials, information technology. If you look at the other one, they had information technology first. This one is more so financials. They also have healthcare, materials, consumer staples, energy. So you're diversified across different sectors. Some kind of weighed a little heavier, like financials, but you're still diversified worldwide with this particular index fund. And when you look at the country diversification, they're heavily in Japan at 16.74%, the United Kingdom, China, Canada, France, Germany, Switzerland, Australia, Korea, Taiwan, India, Sweden, Netherlands, and so forth. So you have huge diversification when it comes to countries. You're not just stuck in any particular company. So that's a good thing about this type of fund. And even if you look at their region diversification, they're heavier in Europe and emerging markets. So even though Japan is on an individual level first, but if you break it down by region, you kind of see a different type of breakdown. Now, they do offer a dividend, and they typically pay it yearly in December, which you can reinvest into the company or into something else. Now, this one doesn't have the same type of returns as lower returns than the Fidelity Xero Total Market Index Fund, but I like to have both because it gives me diversification worldwide. Knock on wood, nothing happens with the U.S., but if the U.S. market goes down, I'm still covered internationally. So I do like to have a portion of my portfolio owning international stocks as well. But breaking down the performance, you look at the lifetime of the fund, it's up 9.11%, year to date 6.59%, 1 year 44.14%. So it's still up. that's still a positive. So I'm A-okay as long as everything is green. Like they say, rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. And when you compare this fund to similar funds in this category, it basically tracks pretty close to the same of Fidelity Global ex-US and Foreign Large Blend. They hover around the same type of returns. This is a great strategy if you want to have like that large diversification in your portfolio, specifically in a Roth IRA. And if you're not familiar with a Roth IRA, see my other video. I kind of break down a Roth IRA, like strategies, how to use that to really jumpstart your income in retirement. Now, if you don't have a Fidelity account, it's free to set up. But if you have Vanguard or Charles Schwab, you can also find similar index funds in those particular sectors. All you have to do is look for a index fund or an ETF that follows the total market index and also a international index as well. A lot of different companies have either an ETF or a index fund or a mutual fund that kind of follow the same indexes as Fidelity Xero Total Market Index Fund and Fidelity Xero International Index Fund. So it really depends on what company you're using. You can find something similar. Until next time, everybody, have a good one. Peace. And let me know, what are some of your favorite index funds? Do you own these particular index funds? I know I do. And on that note, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Smash that like button. It costs you nothing. And until next time, everybody, peace.